What is up, guys? You got your boy Jet Stingren here today, and today we're back with some reverse 1999 content for you guys here today. And today we're here to talk about Argus and do her showcase video for you guys here today. So the last video we did her team's video, and this is going to be the showcase to kind of use her in some content, explain what she does in more deeper detail, and talk about whether or not you should actually pull her or not. So of course timestamps are always be included for all the information that you want to tab over to, so make sure you go over to the respective timestamp to kind of answer the question. If you have any additional questions, make sure you leave them in the comment section below, and let's get started. Let's talk about our girl Argus. Alright, so we are here with Argus, our Texan bounty hunter herself. She is a fine specimen of a woman, if I must say so myself, but she is a debuff focused character that can also provide some supportive capabilities and specializes in a unique follow-up with a unique positive status that's only exclusive to her. So how good is she? Well, of course, let's always talk about her inheritances, skills, Q preferences, portrays, and resonance, and then we'll talk about how good she is in just a moment. So let's go and talk about her inheritances first. Her insight 1 gives the following: after Argus casts a 1, 2, or 3-star incantation, grants damage dealt plus 10, 15, or 25% to allies for 2 rounds. This is really good, actually. Don't sleep on the fact, even if it's only a 10% damage dealt if she's casting a 1-star incantation, it's still providing some form of support to the team. So I really don't actually have anything super negative to say. I know some people say the numbers could be a little bit higher for her being a 6-star base unit, but I still do think the fact that she's actively buffing without any additional need of AP, she's just doing it just as a passive effect of using another one of her skills, I still do think that's actually pretty fine to also justify. And remember, since she does have a special follow-up mechanic, she can pretty much buff you every single turn without no real issue. So long as you actively cast incantations, she's gonna buff you, which is, you know, pretty good. So I really can't say nothing negative about that. Alright. Insight 2 is crit rate plus 10% when casting this battle. Also very good. You don't really get to see too many crit rate plus 10% units. So Argus having another additional 10%, very, very good, because she actually does spec into crit pretty good. And Insight 3, this is where it gets a little bit text heavy. Right before incantation in the AP field resolve, add a ranked incantation of Gravedigger to the spell queue based off the total ranks of incantations played this round. This attack is considered an extra action, and it prioritizes the targets with pinpointed. If you have a total of 3 to 4 ranks, you add a rank 1 incantation that does 100% reality damage to one target. If you get 5 to 6 ranks, you get a rank 2 incantation that deals 150% reality damage to one target, and you gain Moxie plus 1 to self. And if you get a total of 7 plus ranks, you add a rank 3 incantation, which becomes a 200% run target reality damage based attack, and it gains Moxie plus 1 for self like in rank 2, and it always scores a critical hit. So basically, how this basically works, if you have not used Argus yet, or if you haven't seen any videos about it, or if you haven't used her in trial, basically for all the stars that you use within your AP field, you get basically these effects of the follow-up. Traditionally, the best one really to stop at is at 5 to 6. You don't really have to do critical hits with her. I mean, if you were looking to make her to more like main DPS tier, I would actually advise against it if you're especially running her at P0. At like maybe like P4, P5, maybe, then she can definitely go to be main DPS territory. Actually, I know someone who P5'd her, and I think she could probably vouch for, you know, the validation of using 7 plus ranks. But if anything, if you're looking for her to really just be like a good support and sustain, well, support more than likely, 5 to 6 ranks is perfectly fine. And the fact that it's giving her Moxie plus 1 is a really good way for her to accelerate into her ult, which also plays very well into managing your pinpoint stacks. So it's really good. I do think this is a really powerful effect, and it really does make her supportive capabilities also really good. This also ties in back with her I1. If you get a rank 3 incantation, that means you get 25% damage dealt up just off the gate, which is kind of nice. You know, that's kind of nice. But anyway, that's going to be that. But again, her inheritance is also very good. All of them are very good. I can't really say nothing negative about it. Let's talk about the skills. So, Shotgun Shower is a 1 target attack that deals a max of 150% reality damage and she will grant either Empower Incantation 1 or Empower Incantation 2 based off the rarity that this is casted. So 2 to 3, she gets Empower Incantation 2, 1 star, she only gets Empower Incantation 1. Already really good. Okay, I've already talked about how great Empower Incantation is, and this is even better for someone like Argus because of our main concept of pinpointed. I have not yet talked about it because it's more so focused in on the next skill, but you will explain why this is actually really good. And Penetrating Eye is a one target debuff that dispels all status up or positive status on a target, and it inflicts up to 10 stacks of pinpointed on a target for 3 rounds. Only one pinpointed debuff can be existing on the field at a time. Now let me tell you why this is really good for pinpoint stacking. Pinpoint stacking has a maximum of 15, right? With her own other card that can be used to empower her own incantations, it's very easy for you to get either this or this within like the second to third turn without much of any issue, which is actually very, very good. If you even run the standard tuning, the one that lets you diffuse into another card for free, that's also really good. That's also something that you can also do for Argus if you really wanted to push for more stacks. Obviously, you're going to more so look to do it for more like utility things, the things that you need. But if you really, really wanted to get the max stacks of pinpoint, just and kind of hit a little hard, a little bit quicker, that is definitely something that you can do. But if you guys don't know, pinpointed is a defense taken reduction effect of 15% and a critical damage effect of minus 15% as well. And they have an additional further stacking amount of 2% for a total of 15 stacks, which basically means it's 30. So this means you have a total of 45% of damage taken reduction and critical damage reduction, or critical damage down, critical defense down, which is pretty good, honestly. That's kind of almost the highest critical defense in the game. It only just loses out by Isolde by just a tiny bit, which I think Isolde has 50% critical defense down, but that's off a 3-star skill. This is off of a debuff that is one unique, so this means it can stack on top of other ones like that 50% critical defense that I just mentioned earlier. Wink, wink. It stacks on top of those, and it's, again, not very hard to maintain. All you really need to do is just to make sure that you're casting this every 3rd round before the stacks drop. Now, I was a bit mistaken about how the stacks work. I thought it was similar to Windsong's buff, which is Measure, which the stacks fall off individually based on when they were added. This one just, you can add more stacks accumulatively to the buff, or to the debuff, so to speak, but they will all fall at once. So that means once the pinpointed debuff reaches its 0 turn, then all of the stacks that you had built up until that point will just drop. So make sure you're casting this skill pretty consistently on the enemy that you want to be focusing down to make sure that you keep your high stacks going. You can even chill and just cast a 1-star variant, because all you really need to do is just refresh the duration. That's really just it. Just refresh the duration. That's really just it. And of course, we have our ultimate, which is No Mark Unstruck. It is a 1 target attack that deals 500% reality damage to the target, and right before attacking, if the target is in pinpointed status, it increases the pinpoint status by 5. And refreshes the duration of the entire stack and grants penetration 30% and critical rate plus 30% to this attack. So she can really give herself a lot of crit rate, which is actually really good because that means it's super easy for her to crit with, which is good. I mean, she already has an auto crit built into one of her skills, and she has more additional things here. But yeah, really, really solid ultimate. It gives pretty good effects as well, and of course, it does reflect all your stacks of the effect, which again, very, very, very solid, which again, I like this. All right, and let's talk about cubes. All right, so the one cube that you obviously want to Stray Off the Path. Stray Off the Path is, of course, her own unique cube that you can buy from the shop, and it obviously gives her crit rate, which is something she needs, and it gives her critical damage up effect, which stacks up to 3 times, which, I mean, that is 18% critical damage off a level 1, which is not bad. If you actually want to take it to the max, which is actually is not a bad cube, actually, to not take the max, because if you have a one target incantation that round, they get 24% incantation, and critical damage was 12% up to 3 times, which I think that makes it 36% critical damage, which is pretty good. That's pretty strong. So that is if you want to take it up to max. It's ultimately up to you. Another really good option for her, and I would say this is more so focused for raids, is going to be outside the city. I think outside the city is a great alternative for raids because you can actually build into it very late game-ish. Because remember, you need 10 stacks. In most short form content, you're not going to be able to build off of 10 stacks over the course of 10 turns because the content's probably going to be over by then. But things like raid, like reverie, like the things that traditionally last a little bit more longer, then you can actually build into this a little bit quicker, and you can gain 50% critical damage at level 5 and an additional 12% crit rate, which will make this 28% total crit rate, which is solid. That's pretty solid. So this one you get 28% crit rate, 50% critical damage, and then her own cube, which is more for shorter term content, you get 24% incantation might, which is again still helpful, not gonna knock, and 36% critical damage. So yeah, another really good easy option to throw in there is also Luxurious Leisure. It's ultimate might up, just if you wanted to make her ultimate hit a little bit harder. Not necessary at all, I don't think so. It's just really, it's just for the general damage dealt up, which applies to everything. So 27% damage dealt up is going to be pretty nice for her. But another really good comfortable option is actually going to be Blab Shimmer of Night. Because again, since her own pinpointed status does count as a negative status, you could just run someone else who can give another negative status of any form. And then you have the damage dealt up plus 24% alongside having another additional incantation might. But I would definitely prioritize going over a cube that has crit rate built onto it. And before people say, what about Thunderous Applause? No. Anyway, let's talk about her portrays next. So portrays are here, and I was going to read them down. So P1 gives additional modifier to her follow-up attack Gravedigger, which makes it 150, 250, 400. Again, pretty good. P2 gives the effects of the pinpointed base effect to 20% on start, and then 2.5 for each stack for a total of 15, which I think it's a total of 37.5% if I'm not mistaken. So this would make it a basically 58% damage taken reduction and 58% critical defense down, which is it's kind of good. I mean, that's kind of good. And then P3, again, more modifier, but for her follow-up attack Gravedigger, which now becomes a max of 500, which is basically as strong as her ultimate, which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. And then P4 now increases it for yet more percent. So now it becomes 25% on base, 25% on base, and then it becomes 3% for the additional stacks concurring afterwards, which basically means it will become 70% now. So yeah, pretty strong in terms of if you really wanted her to be a debuffer. But P5 would just turn it into 700% on the ult, and that is that. If you really are thinking about going for dupes for her, I would say go no deeper than P2. P2 is really good because that means it just makes her debuffing capabilities a little bit more stronger, a little bit more potent, and again, it can even push you over 100% critical defense down. I mean, kind of cool if you run her with like Isolde, right? Kind of cool. I mean, it's not like a necessity more than anything. I think it's just, I think P0 is where you should honestly stop. To be fairly honest, if you really want my opinion, I think P0 is a good stopping point. But if you really want to insist on going deeper, if you are a whale or you really do like Argus as a character, then I would say go no deeper than P2. And then we're going to talk about her Resonance. So this is the Resonance build that I have for her. This is just an overall crit build. So mostly focusing on crit rate, because again, she needs crit rate. And then we have a attack build with a little bit of crit built into there, because again, I do prioritize crit over most of the units because that's what you really want. If you are to go Resonance with her, you have Eludication, you have Genuity, you have Mercy, you have Equanimity, I apologize if I'm saying that wrong, and Equal Balance. So which one should you take? I would just go Genuity. Genuity is pretty much the most comfortable option. It does suck that none of these pieces really give her a crit rate. If one of these two would have gave her a crit rate instead of crit damage, I think I would have been more content with. But I think G Unity is generally better because you're gonna get incantation mind bonus, and I do think that's gonna be most of where Argus's damage is coming from, because you're gonna be casting her follow up, even the empower incantation skill. It's also gonna be a thing that's gonna be generally affected by this. So if you're looking for a more overall, I would say go G Unity. But if you really wanted to focus in on ultimate, then you could go Ludication. I mean, if you really wanted to empower for ultimate, then you could go there. But I do think that Gene Unity is generally the most comfortable choice. So alright, that is going to be Argus, and now I'm going to be explaining whether or not you should pull her or not. Honestly, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not you should pull Argus. I know there was another content creator who made a video and he said to skip Argus, and it caused some mild drama within the community server, which I was not the biggest fan of. But I do see why people say that you shouldn't be pulling for Argus. I mean, I can tell you why. I think Argus's biggest problem, honestly, is that while she's a good unit, right? I don't think it's ever really to say that you shouldn't put Argus because she's not a good unit. She's a good unit, for sure, especially in single target situations. The problem is that a lot of our main teams, we kind of already have the key lineups that we want. You know, like for example, I run Vila, Cacania, and Mercuria in most of my teams because it's such a well-rounded team. You have two incredible crit rate, crit buffers. You have crit rate, crit damage buffers, and then I have one of them that's doubling as a healer. One of them's doubling as a dispel bot, because Mercuria casts her ult pretty frequently. And then you have Cacania, who is the ultimate sustain queen, who cannot be topped in any form of sustainability. So it's really, really hard in certain situations, like in Raid, for example, where Argus can actually shine through. Now, I do think that there is nothing wrong with taking one of those units out to use Argus to otherwise, you know, have her have some time in the sun, you know what I mean? So there's situations where yes, it's valid to use Argus. However, if you already have sustained teams set up and you have everything that you need off of other units, then I don't think Argus is really going to do anything different to otherwise fix up a hole in your account. You know what I mean? Like for me, someone like me who obviously pulls every single unit just to do these type of videos, I mean, Argus isn't going to do a lot for me. She's not. Like, that's why I didn't really go for dupes, because she's not going to do that much for me. It's not. But at the same time, for another person who doesn't necessarily have a strong and yet potent debuffer, then Argus is going to be she's going to be your girl. Even if you say, well, what about AoE content? I can't use Argus there. Yes, you can. All you really need to do is use it for the boss. I mean, that's kind of, because, I mean, most of the AoE content that we get, it's usually main boss plus ads. It's not just several units at once as a thing. I mean, the only thing you can maybe say is maybe Limbo, for example. But even then, there's always been in Limbo where a certain enemy is more problematic than the other. And so long as you know what that enemy is, then you just got to go from there. For example, like, what was like a few limbos ago, I want to say like 3-4 limbos ago, where it was 37 and Lilia, right? Everybody knows 37 is the problem. Lilia doesn't really do anything. Like, she doesn't really deal that much damage. But 37, she does a lot of damage. So what are you going to be doing if you were to use Argus in this situation? You're going to focus down her first and then use your resources to debuff first with Argus, which again, it's not hard to reach 15 with her because of how consistently you can get into higher tier incantations with Argus, and with other amplifying supports you can get higher stacks that pinpoint it really quickly. So it's not like it's a direct loss if you do. So if you were asking me if you should pull for Argus, I would just say firmly look at your account before you make that decision. Look at what you have and look at what you own. If you are someone who's lacking like some supports for, you know, defense down, a critical defense down, but no, by all means, you should get her. If you love Argus as a character, then by all means, you should get her. Another reason why I do think a lot of people are also going to skip Argus too is because what's coming out in the next patch, in patch 2.2. For those of you who don't want to know, I won't spoil, but those are going to be some really good units in that patch. So it's just a really tough time for Argus as a unit. I just think it's just really hard to fit her in certain teams, but for what it's worth, she's still a overall great debuffer. I don't think there's really nothing bad with her. I think it's more so the fact that she just has a hard time being placed into teams without having to sacrifice something that's more important. You know what I mean? So yeah. But anyway, that's going to be it about her. We've already talked about Argus long enough, and now we're going to go to the gameplay section and show her off in some content. So I'll be right back. Alright, so this is going to be the team that we're going to be running here today. We're going to be running Marcus, Isolde, Vila, and Argus. So let's go ahead and let's use the team. It was the first team I showed off in my team's video. But anyway, let's go and get right into it. So first things first is obviously we're going to be taking care of this Caconia, because Caconia is the more annoying problem of the two, I would say. So I'm going to go ahead and set up debuffs, buff with you, and sure. So this is going to give me a rank 2 to start off with, which is really good. That's why I do love the synergy between Marcus and Argus, because it makes her have a higher chance of getting these 2 to 3 stars, which is what you ideally want. So the bright side is I can use Argus's rank, I can use her other skill here with safety, so that's good. And I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to just buff Marcus again. Even after the sturdiness, it doesn't really change anything. So there we go, stacks are all up. So one of our skills is going to get ranked up. That's actually insane that we got the debuff. We can save this one because we're going to be transitioning over to the other body. So let us do this skill with you. Let's just use this as a way to build Moxie off both of them. And then I'll just use this with her, because then everybody will have ult this turn. As you can see, that replenishes up the count to 3 turns remaining. Which is why, again, I highly recommend that you just use it just to make sure your stacks stay up. So, boom. So I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive that Marcus is going to annihilate Isolde. So I'm not going to do this combination just yet. I'm actually going to save this, and I'm going to see if I can get into another rank up for it. Because if I can, then that means I can get a level 3. And that's what I want. I want a level 3 of her debuff. Just so I can get the 10 stacks, you know? It's not necessary by any stretch of the word. It's just, we're kind of hoping. But if Caconia doesn't die, then she'll probably die by the follow-up. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter. So it does look like we are going to be getting that level 3 that we need. So now all I need now is to just set this up for her to kill, for Argus to kill. I'm going to let Argus do the killing here. So I am going to, since we do have mostly everything we need. No. So let's debuff. Let's set the stacks. Let's rousing morale. Let's not have to do this for the extra Moxie, sure. And then we're going to fuse this. We're going to fuse this with the intention to reroll. If I can get Isolde's level 3 debuff, then that's perfect. If I don't, then this is still fine. This is still fine. I just want to see if I can get the level 3. So, let's just do that. So there's a few things that we're looking for here, which is hopefully the right amount of stacks, hopefully everything we need. Uh-huh. So as long as we don't kill. That's all we need to not do, is just not kill. Which we didn't, so. There's another opportunity right there to potential rank up. So that's, or get a rank 3 right there. So that's another potential.
I must finish this one.
Ooh, Isolde almost took the kill. So I have I have two chances. Two chances. Come on. I just need a debuff card. I just need a debuff card. If we don't get it here, then I mean okay, perfect. Oh, we got it. So we have max stacks. So this you know what we're missing though? We're missing Isolde's. I mean, we're missing Vila's buff. But you know what? That's fine. That's fine. We still have. I think we have. We just have the rousing morale from Vila. We have damage bonus was 25% because we casted a 3-star. So we'll do this. We'll just this. Sure. We'll blow this out the water, and then we'll just pop our ultimate. And then if for some unhilarious reason she survives, which is quite literally impossible, then we'll just follow it up with a 3-star caster per attack. I just wanted to really use Argus as the finisher here, because why not, dude? Why not? It's her showcase, you know what I mean? She may be the support, but I still want her to finish it up because she's got the guns, okay? She's got the guns. You know, 42k isn't terrible. That's actually quite passable for me. I wasn't expecting 42. I was expecting more like 30. So she did good. She did good. So anyway, let's see who did the most damage. Well, Argus, because of the continuous follow-up support too. So there we go. Arcane skills we casted. And yeah. That's going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoy. Again, if you want Argus, I would just say take a good look at your account, see what you have, see what you need, and then go for pulling. But if you have pretty much the essential units like Vila, Cacania, Mercuria, and there's a few ones in there that I would like to mention as well, but I'm not. You probably are just going to be fine. But again, this has been your boy Justin. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.